In this demonstration, you will learn how to use the validation error template to show an error message in the user interface. Let's switch to Visual Studio. When a text box has a binding error, it shows by default a red border. That red border is defined in a control template that you can override with the attached property validation error template. To set this property, you need to use the property element setter.value. The error template property is of type control template, so let's create here a control template. Now here you can define the user interface for the error state of the text box. Let's use here a stack panel, and now let's place an adorned element placeholder element in this stack panel. This adorned element placeholder is the place where the original text box will be. You cannot move the text box with this error template, but you can put other stuff around or on top of it. So here you can create, for example, a text block. Let's set the foreground property to red, and let's set the text property to "this is not valid." Now this means, as you have here a vertical stack panel, that this text block is placed below the text box, that is, at this part where the adorned element placeholder is. Now let's see this in action and let's run the application. Let's select a customer in the navigation, and now let's remove here the first name. Now you see below the text box the text "this is not valid." As you can see, that text does not participate in the original layout of our application. This means it is just drawn here on top of this last name label. Now, when this error happens, I want to move the last name label and the other controls a bit down. This means you should specify a margin on the text box so that the rest is moved down. To do this, let's keep the application running and let's go back to the styles XAML file. Here we have already a trigger for the validation has error property. Now in this trigger, let's create also a setter for the margin property of the text box. Let's say if an error occurs, you want to set a margin on the left side of 0, 0 at the top, 0 at the right, and 20 at the bottom. Now let's bring up the application again. As you can see, now the last name label was moved down. Let's enter a first name and let's remove it again. And you can see there is now enough space for the error message. The error message is not so well aligned, it should be moved a bit to the right side. So let's go again to the XAML document and let's scroll up here to the control template. On this text block, let's set the margin property and let's define a margin of 3 pixels on the left side. Now let's bring up the application again. This looks good to me. Now everything is fine and the error message looks really nice. In the next clip, you will learn how to show here the actual validation error.